Welcome to Jesus Changes Everything, a daily podcast dedicated to providing a fresh look at the ancient and glorious truth that Jesus not only reigns, but is busy about the business of bringing all things under subjection, that celebrates the wonder and the glory that he has been given all authority in heaven and on earth. Suppose for a moment that you have been falsely accused. I don't know, maybe you've been accused of being a international art thief. And suppose the person who accuses you of being an international art thief says, you stole the Mona Lisa out of the Louvre in Paris in January of 2018. And you say to them, no, in January of 2018, I was actually in the hospital recovering from surgery. Here's the paperwork that demonstrates that. Now, suppose your accuser responds to that, and aha, I knew it. I knew it all along. That is exactly the kind of excuse a well-trained international art thief would use. Now, I thought you were guilty. I wasn't sure, but now I know for sure because you have just said this thing about being in the hospital so that you couldn't have stolen the painting. What do you think? Some international art thief is going to say, yes, I stole your painting? Of course not. Well, this is a logical fallacy. This is a damned if you do and damned if you don't. And this is at the heart of yet another bit of foolish wisdom coming from the world of victimology, which goes by the name of Darvo. Darvo, capital D, capital A, capital R, capital V, capital O. This is an acronym which stands for deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. Deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. If you've never heard of this expression, well, you're not alone. I never heard of it until just very, very recently. And I heard it applied to J.K. Rowling. Now, there was a time when J.K. Rowling was well known for writing the Harry Potter stories. That's what she was most well known for. But in recent years, she's become even more famous, not because of what she's written, but because of what she believes. She has not embraced evangelical Christianity, but rather she has been rather outspoken in her commitment to this socially unpopular ideology that holds that boys are boys and girls are girls. Yeah, that's what's gotten her into trouble. She said it. She said it straightforwardly. She said it directly. She said it in the face of the ideology of the LGBTQ community, although, as we'll cover next week or the week after that, there's a significant division there related to this issue, a turf war, if you will. But nevertheless, J.K. Rowling is much despised because of her insistence on scientific biology. And so, in that context, she has been assaulted and attacked and actually a victim of an attempt to cancel her, marginalize, cast out of public society, etc. All of these things have happened to her. And J.K. Rowling, to her credit, has responded not by rolling over and issuing an apology, but by doubling down on her commitment to, again, the radical idea is the one that she's in trouble for is that she believes that boys are boys and girls are girls. Well, it is this doubling down, this defense, this public acknowledgement that she is being assaulted in the press for her commitment to this idea that has led the ones who have originally accused her of this Darvo tactic: deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. So, J.K. Rowling, you are a horrible, wicked person because you believe that boys are boys and girls are girls, and that means that you hate people who think differently and yada, yada, yada. J.K. Rowling says, I do believe boys and girls are girls, but I deny that I'm being awful, and in fact, I'm going to affirm that you all are coming after me when I haven't done anything to come after you. I have one view, you have the other view. You're the one that's hating, and you're the one who's making me a victim. See, say the transgender folks. Now look what now you're a gaslighting Darvo person. Now you're trying to change the rules. This is what comes when we elevate victim status to the point that all it takes to own victim status is to be in a particular class, and there needs to be no evidence whatsoever of anyone having victimized you. Exhibit B, Jussie Smollett. If you don't remember this story, it recently came back in the news as he was convicted of crimes in falsely reporting that he had been a victim of a hate crime, had a noose tied around his neck, etc., and the whole thing was just a stunt. But as soon as he made the accusation, anyone who said, well, no, maybe, let's wait and see. Let's hold off our judgment until we actually get a chance to look at the facts, were considered to be enablers, co-conspirators, evil, and racist, etc., etc. Exhibit C, Kyle Rittenhouse. This is terrible, evil, wicked, wicked, wicked. The white boy with a gun shot people, and because he's a racist, even though the people that he shot were the same color skin that he was. Go all the way back to Covington High School and the young people at the National Mall and the universal vilification of the young man for being disrespectful to the elderly gentleman of what's the right word? American Indian ancestry. Native American, sorry. Friends, I'm all in favor of a gentle spirit. But I'm all in favor of a gentle spirit for both the accused and the accuser. I'm, again, perfectly willing to believe that there are horrible people out there who do commit violence against people who are sexually confused, who do assault people from a position of power. None of those things are inherently not possible. But neither is the accusation of having done so sufficient not only for a legal declaration of guilty, but even for a personal one. You see, what happens, this is why we have slander and libel laws. When someone makes a horrible accusation against someone, even if that person is able in a court of law where there are, to some degree, rules of evidence and testimony and a jury of your peers, it doesn't remove the full stench of the accusation, which is really what's going on. The folks who use this language, who accuse people who are practicing a legitimate defense of themselves as being guilty of Darvo, are claiming for themselves the authority and the right to pronounce judgment without a defense being allowed. Again, imagine you're on trial now for this art thievery. And you're in court. And your attorney stands up to give his opening defense. And the prosecutor stands up and says, "Objection, Your Honor." Are we going to sit here and let this attorney Darvo us? You're not going to let him stand up here and let him deny that his client did what he did, are you? You're not going to let him attack us for falsely accusing him. You're not going to let him paint his vile defense, his vile client as the victim and us as the offender, are you? And it's heads I win, tails you lose. And it's the thing. I mean, what I'm saying, it's one thing for people to sort of do this, not practice Darvo, but to believe people are practicing Darvo. It's another thing to give it a name as if it were a real thing, as if it were possible. And as if we know on the basis of someone defending themselves. If defending yourself from a charge is the same as confessing that you're guilty of the charge, then a simple charge is enough to convict anyone. Because at the end of the day, either you admit you did it, in which case people are just to believe you did it, or you admit you didn't do it, and if Darvo is correct, that's proof that you did do it. Friends, it's a crazy, crazy, mixed up world out there. And it's a shame what this does to genuine victims. Both those who are falsely accused and those who've been assaulted one way or another. The function of rules of evidence, the function of the presumption of innocence until proven guilty, the assumption underlying trial by a jury of your peers, the assumption that drives the withholding of conclusion until all sides have been heard, as the Bible describes in the Proverbs, is for the sake of everyone involved. You know, I don't want the power to convict someone based on what I think. It's a dreadful power. Please, friends, be very careful. I'm not just saying, oh, look at what the stupid liberals are doing again. That's easy. I am saying watch out and don't ever, ever fall for this, whatever side it comes from. Be a person who is slow to speak, quick to listen, slow to reach conclusions. Do not assume that the crying person claiming to be the victim and the defensive person claiming that he's innocent, don't assume that the first one's right and the second one's wrong. Sometimes it's the other way around. Get countless illustrations. People get falsely accused all the time. People accuse and don't get believed all the time. That's why we have trials. Stop with the ready, fire, aim. Stop running trials in reverse where you pronounce the verdict and then have the trial. That's not justice. That's not godly. That's not sympathy. That's not empathy. It is straight from the pit of hell. You've been listening to the Jesus Changes Everything podcast, a production of Dunamis Fellowship, the teaching outreach of Dr. R.C. Sproul Jr. If you've enjoyed this podcast, we encourage you to subscribe, which you can do at all the usual outlets, to tell your friends, and to spread the word. To learn more about the work of Dunamis Fellowship, please visit rcsproulJR.com and join us next time on Jesus Changes Everything.